ultimately, these decisions that they're making in the comic books, it makes you wonder about the decisions in your own life, doesn't it? I mean, what if I had been born with omni galactic powers? Would I be making the right choice? Or would I instead devastate entire planets with my power just because I
Would
could?
you? What? Yeah, I mean, what would you do? It would be tempting, wouldn't it? Just to devastate entire planets with your power just because you could. I mean, to conquer, if you had the ability, because your body is indestructible, all right? Nothing any alien ever has will ever be able to harm you in any way physically. Okay. You have what amounts to unlimited strength and speed, and you can fly. Okay. So conquering a planet is really just a matter of, and also the older you get, the slower you age. You're going to live to at least, you're going to live for at least thousands and thousands of years. Okay.
At a minimum.
At a minimum. Yeah. 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 Assuming you don't get killed by, I don't know, you're not going to get killed. Somebody else like you would have to kill you. Another Viltrumite.
So, which is
what would you
unlikely.
do? Well, I mean, Viltrumites, they're bloodthirsty, man. But let's just say in your position, no one's coming to get you. You just have ultimate power and time. What are you going to do with it?
Well, I'm going to vacation, obviously.
Right. And you can go like from right now, you could be in Belize in 5 minutes. You could just fly there, you know?
Well, why vacation? Why not vacation on Pluto?
Yeah, you could. Well, Viltrumites can only hold their breath for 2 weeks. They can hold their breath for 2 weeks, but you could fly to Pluto. They can fly so fast. And in space, there's no kinetic friction. So you go faster the longer you go. So that's how Viltrumites can just fly from planet to planet. They just hold their breath and do it.
That seems pretty convenient.
It's pretty nice. Yeah, it's pretty nice. And it's like in the comic book, it's shown like them going like far out of the solar system is not an issue. There's a certain chart, right? Because there's only certain planets that are within a 2 weeks span of each other, even going at faster than light speed. So like you can kind of see where they would be able to go. But
well, I'm sure it would be a long enough way for me to have many centuries of exploration without necessarily needing to conquer. But it would be fun to go to other humanoid civilizations and appear as a god. That'd be fun.
Yeah. What would you do?
As a god?
Like, let's see.
Obviously. I mean,
well, of course.
Who wouldn't that?
I mean, you don't want to leave that on the table.
No, I'd have temples built to me. Then if
would you?
Yeah, sure.
All right, hold on. Let's say that you're coming up on this humanoid planet. They look like they are humanoid, but they're not humans. They got like insectoid faces. You know what I mean? But they're in like, let's say the Bronze Age. Okay, they're in the Bronze Age.
Sure.
And now you show up. Boom, they got like some cities. You know what I mean?
Right.
Crude, but cities. You know,
of course. Yes.
Some kind of language, some kind of trade, whatever it is. Boom, you show up in the atmosphere. What are you doing now?
Well, I'm going to
You're light years away from like nobody's going to know what goes on here. It's just you and these poor, meat bags. What's going on? What's first on the agenda?
You're really setting this up to be some kind of Westworld sort of deal. I'm going to come in and rape and pillage and have my fill.
Is that what I've not seen Westworld. Is that what that is?
Yeah, that's in Westworld. The conceit is that we've advanced enough to develop humanoid robots that are very convincing, so convincing that, you can have whole theme parks that are staffed entirely by androids that look exactly like humans that you can rape and kill at your leisure.
Okay. All right.
All right. Apparently, when you have the power to do that, at least in Westworld, you most likely will.
Go ahead and do it.
Yeah.
Turns out if you can do it, you're gonna go ahead and do it.
At least in the Westworld universe. So
right. In the Westworld universe, not this, not your or my universe.
Certainly not.
Of course,
but that's how you've set it up. You've set it up for that kind of situation.
No. I'm just saying, you are an indestructible. You're like Superman, essentially Superman.
Right.
Okay. And you show up to a civilization in the Bronze Age and,
it's not fun, though, if they have insectoid faces. I've got to be honest. I'm kind of.
But hold on now.
Yeah.
Insectoid faces, like, okay, praying mantis faces, like heads, blue skin, but human mouths and human bodies.
Well, we're getting.
Hold on now. But they also have the praying mantis hands. They got the praying mantis hands, but human bodies. Completely 1 trillion% human bodies. Blue. they're colored blue, but maybe there's some red and orange ones, like some shit that you would a flesh tone that would for sure never be on a human being. But
I feel like you're setting me up again for some kind of, some kind
I'm
of
just
horrific.
asking questions. I'm just asking questions.
These are being
I'm trying to set
set
the
up.
scene.
Well, you're setting it up. All right. No, I mean, what I would honestly do? I would introduce them to technology that it could improve their society and then watch them destroy themselves with it.
How would you how would you do that? You have the technology with you. You only have your clothes on your back. That's all you got.
Yeah, but I'm a Viltrumite. I have, I have knowledge. I have powers. I can build things. I have advanced scientific understanding. Doesn't my advanced Viltrumite brain have knowledge of calculus and all other forms
Sure,
of
but like, okay,
mathematical expression?
let's say you're good at calculus, but I put you on a fucking planet that's in the Iron Age, the Bronze Age, dude. Like,
Sure.
how long until you can send an email, even if you know how computers work? You know.
Well, are you saying
you have to introduce them to metal foundries and blacksmithing and then refining things into advanced, from metal to plastics to polymers to, I mean, that's going to take a long time, bro. Like,
well, what you could do in the meantime is introduce the scientific method. And you could,
there are little things, like things even that are basic to humans right now that you could like let them know scientifically. So you're gonna steer them scientific way. You're not going religious. You're not saying I am a god. You wouldn't just for shits and gigs be like, actually, I'm a god. Don't believe me? Have your finest warriors try to do whatever,
and then slay them. As
not even slay them. You just let them do whatever they even want to do. They have nothing that could harm you. Like, go ahead, stab a fucking spear into my junk as hard as you can. Nothing's gonna happen. You can't hurt me. I'm a god.
Well, it might be fun to engage in that sort of experimentation for a few aeons, but
yeah,
eventually, don't you think you would get bored immediately if you had infinite power? Other than to become increasingly cruel, you'd go mad.
You think the natural thing would be to become increasingly cruel?
To
be like, yeah, could I wipe this whole? How fast could I wipe this whole planet? Could I extinct this whole planet? I want to see how strong I really. That would be the frustrating part, right? You never get to test your strength unless you did something cruel.
Well, or unless you protected the species from some sort of volcano using your massive power to shunt the lava into space, for example.
Yeah, or another one of your kind comes and says, hey, this planet is scheduled for annexation. But then that's a fight to the death. That's a real fight. You know what I mean?
Sure. If you want to fight another Viltrumite.
That's not testing your strength. We're going to fight to the death. Although this is this scenario, you just found out you got Viltrumite blood. You weren't raised as a Viltrumite.
Right. Okay? I don't have that whole cultural baggage.
Yeah.
Weighing me down. Yes. No, I mean, the right answer, by the way, is to say, if I had that kind of godlike power, what I would do is I would meditate and retreat in hopes of gaining enlightenment, because enlightenment,
you would do some gay shit like that. You would do just be floating in some Tibetan mountains. First, I guess the first question is, how long do you stay on Earth? Once you find out, like, this age that you're at right now is the age you're going to be for thousands of years. Now you're going to slow. Your aging is going to slow to such a degree that it's, functionally infinite now.
Well,
and all the powers and shit. How long do you stay on Earth?
Arguably long enough to, assuming I'm the only person with these.
Yeah, it's only you. All your friends and family are normal.
Yeah. I mean, I'd wait for all of my friends and family to die.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, I would try and do as much good as I possibly can with all of my good powers. Maybe I'd fly around.
Would you go full superhero?
Oh, I'd unilaterally disarm all nuclear powers.
Yeah. Just fly to where all the silos are. Boom, grab them. Boom. Yeah,
I assume as a Viltrumite, I would have a radioactive spidey sense.
No, you don't.
I don't.
You don't, actually.
I'd have
Viltrumites are just invincible and super strong and super fast. They don't have X-ray vision. They don't have super hearing. They don't have laser vision. But they could survive like a nuclear blast, probably.
That seems like a significant handicap, that I don't have other powers besides super speed and super strength.
Yeah. Yeah. and invulnerability. Like nothing could hurt you except for another person of your caliber, which there isn't. We'll just say.
Well, in that event, I still think nuclear disarmament is totally possible.
But you have to, yeah, but you got to be careful. You know what I mean? You have to really plan that out and like figure out where you're going to go. But if you're at the peak of your powers, you can fly so fast. You know what I mean? Like you could be, if you knew where they all were, that's the only rub. You just have to know where they are, you know, and then get rid of all of them before anyone has any time to be like, hey, wait, what's even happening? You know?
Well, the easier thing to do would simply to fly to the capitals of Washington, D.C.
and demand it.
Beijing, Moscow.
And then what happens when they say no?
Pyongyang, Tel Aviv.
What happens when they say no?
Paris, London. I'm going through all the nuclear powers, son.
Yeah, we don't need to do that. What do you do when Kim Jong-un says no, fuck you?
You imprison them on a sustainable prison in Pluto till they change their mind. No need to even harm anyone.
Well, you can't get him to Pluto.
Sure, I can.
How the fuck are you going to get him to Pluto? You can fly there. He can't.
Easy. Real easy.
And humans, by the way, cannot handle flight at those speeds. Their bodies can't move as fast as yours can. You know what I mean?
You can if you put them in a Dragon space capsule from SpaceX and you fly that out to Pluto.
That takes too much time, though, bro.
No, what do you mean it takes too much time? Well, this is my.
There's got to be some kind of abandoned island somewhere, you know, in the middle of no. You know what I mean? Do they really need to go all the way to fucking Pluto? Just take them to some island and then, like, you know,
obviously,
do it so fast that nobody would even be able to.
Yeah, we're just
know where you went.
We're whiteboarding a plan here. Is what we're doing.
Yeah.
But
well, that's what I'm saying. You say nuclear disarmament. There's definitely, even if you come bursting right through the walls of their fucking office and all their secret service and their equivalents are just busting at you and nothing's happening. You're just sitting there and all the bullets and you're like, are you ready to talk now? Most of them probably are going to be like, no, well, I can't do that. Then what do you do?
Well, you just keep, I mean, look, it's not going to take you long to kidnap the leadership of
okay, you kidnap them, but how does that now automatically, how does that make it? What do you do now? Go with me step by step. You've kidnapped Kim Jong-un. Now you've got him by the scruff of his neck on an abandoned island in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. No one ever going to find it. What do you do now?
Well, I don't just have Kim Jong-un. I have Kim.
Grab his chief of staff. You grab all his.
Yeah, I grab his cronies. I do the same thing with Biden. I do the same thing with whoever that fucker is in the United Kingdom, Boris Johnson, and so on. I don't have to go through every one of them.
Yeah.
I grab all the important people. You know, I grab 2,000-3,000.
Keep them on the same island?
Sure.
Yeah.
And say, hey, you're going to have and then I announce to the world, I have all these people on this island. They're negotiating.
All right. Are you wearing a mask or are you saying this is me, Peter Shin? I'm doing this. I am the new protector of this planet. Because they're going to come for us. They're going to come for your family if you reveal your identity, right?
No, you're going to another.
You've already
fantastic tropical island. Yeah.
Okay. Sick.
Yeah, you're going to really enjoy this. You're going to enjoy being the son of a all-potent, all-powerful.
It has its perks. It has its perks.
Sure does. Yeah, no need to worry about anything ever again. And, oh, by the way, there's lifetime employment with this guy.
Hell yeah. That's on lock. What would you assign me to do? Okay, but now listen, now you're conquering the planet is what you're doing.
I'm not.
Whether you like it or not, like you now have all the leaders of the known world, right?
Yeah, you're going to check with me on a few things. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I mean, you know, Russia's going to clean up its act. I can tell you that right now.
You're going to get down to the minutia.
Just as these issues come up, I'll solve them right away. You know
what you're describing, though, is in effect world domination. Though. You know what I mean? Like
somebody has to do it if they have the power. With great power comes great responsibility, son.
So that's what you believe. That's what you believe would be best for the world is for one altruistic but all powerful, essentially God, to personally regulate.
Isn't that what everyone
the actions of the entire world
wants? Isn't that what everyone secretly wants?
That is. You wish there was just some God of justice that would appear out of nowhere and handle all the bad shit that happens to you and everyone else.
Yeah.
Wish.
Yeah. Send me an email. You know,
I'll be there.
If you've got some injustice that's percolating, send me a note And if I deem it worthy, I'll take care of it. Otherwise, you're on your own.
But this is the other thing. Omni-Man and Invincible, both, this is addressed in the show. They do have to work with the government because they don't have super hearing. Like, they need to be told where to go. You know what I mean?
Well,
They
that's
have the
where
power, but they don't have the knowledge, you know?
there's going to be some negotiation about that. Look, we can keep some nuclear weapons in storage under my lock and key in case we ever need them against some other individual like myself.
So you're keeping some nukes.
Well, we need to.
I would get rid of. I would be like, dude, just fucking get rid of all of them.
All right,
fucking get rid of all of them. Don't even leave it to chance, bro.
This is why you earn $250,000 a year from me as a
$250,000. That's the salary I'm on. You're the conqueror of Earth, and I get $250,000. Money shouldn't even be. Money should. We don't even use money anymore. It's just like, hey, I want this. You know what I mean?
Okay, son.
Okay, that's yours. You know.
I can see my powers already going to your head.
No. I would take a modest $100,000 salary. That's all I do.
Oh, sure.
Because what? Like, I can't make my mortgage payments, and you know, like, now the bank's gonna take my house. Listen, you know.
Yeah.
What would you super? All right, so
Bill Bank's gonna take your. You don't need to make home payments, really.
Yeah. They're gonna go ahead and approve every loan. They will approve every loan.
You know, we're gonna take.
They know what's good for them.
I think you should take a chance on this kid. I really do.
Yeah, just burst through the wall of the bank manager's office. I think you should take a chance on him. You know, do you understand me? Kool-Aid man style. Yeah,
run through it.
Wait, so you're doing Peter Shin? You're not doing?
No, I'm not
superhero.
I'm not gonna. I'm just gonna use my friendly, humble persona that people will be able to identify with. They'll say, "Oh, this person. They understand what's best for the population of the world."
Saint Peter, maybe.
Oh, I like that. Saint. You know, see,
but that's too. But now we're putting a religion. People would put a religious bent. You would have to hold many press conferences and be like, "This is not a Christian or Catholic thing." You know what I mean? They would be trying to take big credit for that. Big credit for that.
Yeah. All right. Well, you know, we can whiteboard what the superhero name could be, certainly. But I think, you know, just having a normal, regular, everyday name for people to focus their hatred on, that in and of itself would unite the world. The world would be immediately united against any superhero. Immediately.
Any superhero like that. Yeah. If you did something like that, what you're talking about is quite literally going nuclear right off the bat. Right off the bat. You're going.
Well, I'd start off with a suggestion. Hey, there's nothing in the world that can stop me from controlling this planet. Nothing. Nothing can stop me. You could launch 1 million nuclear weapons at me, which you don't have. You could launch all of the many thousands of nukes directly at me, and I can move so quickly that I could capture them in midair and tow them out to the moon.
They're definitely, here's the thing about tough talk, though, is they're definitely going to try you. You know what I mean? They're going to be like, well, we're going to need some proof of that, you know?
Go ahead, launch one.
And then failing that, then they're going to come for your family.
Well, go ahead and launch one. See what happens.
What would happen if they came after your family and had assassinated me? What happens if they succeed in getting, what if they got all of us before, like, you know, their reach was a little bit longer than you thought and they killed all your family?
Well, that'd be a big problem for them.
That would be actually worst case scenario for them. What if they didn't kill us, but they had us, though? They had us hostage at a black site somewhere. You don't know where.
And I don't have the power to figure that out.
You have invincibility. You have the powers that you have.
Well, that's easy. That's easy.
What is your first step? They're like, we have you, and they got a little video of us all, you know, tied in chairs with the Abu Ghraib hoods on, you know, and it's us. They somehow verify it or whatever. They lift the hoods.
It's easy. I just kill every member of the government
until they reveal to you.
No, not until. I just kill every member of the government and say, you don't have a government anymore, so you might as well just quit. Because you can't get paid anymore.
Yeah.
Ain't nobody left to pay you. I've killed them all.
Yeah. But there some would hide, though. Well, it'd be hard, though, because no one would believe, like, and being so powerful and that small, human being sized, you know what I mean? They couldn't scramble jets. Like they couldn't, they wouldn't really be able to stop you if you were so fast.
No, they couldn't do it. But I don't think anybody would resort to those kinds of measures when I'm such a reasonable fellow. I would just suggest, hey, have you considered? I mean, obviously,
that's how that goes in America, you're saying. But what about Putin? What about your meeting with Putin when you say, hey, you bust in? How do you do that? Because you have the power to just bust right into the Kremlin or whatever. Like you could do that. That's probably not going to go. It's probably not a good opening to negotiations.
Well, first off, we're going to start off by going some viral TikTok videos. That's step number one.
Viral TikTok video.
Yeah, of me performing feats of strength.
Oh, okay.
Like flying around.
Seems like a roundabout. Okay, why are we doing this?
Like flying around with a blue whale.
Okay, why?
We need some demonstrations of power. Do you know what I'm saying?
Sure.
We need.
You're talking about demonstrations of power, but without hurting anybody.
Exactly. So, for example, one thing that might be sensible and fun is to get a fair-sized asteroid.
And a big asteroid. Yeah, and just
fling it on Earth. Yeah, I mean, you'd want to practice on some other planets first. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. You go to other planets, and just see, you go to like Mars and then just kind of tear it up. You know what I mean? Just kind of fucking, see if you can move a whole mountain or something. Just see what you can do.
Yeah, exactly. You'd have to find out what your actual limits were, test them out, and then arrange a demonstration so that people could see that, I have power, great power that I am using for good in this instance. But it's a two-way street. So maybe you should listen to me when I suggest something that seems like it's for the common good.
Yeah, but governments wouldn't. They would be like, that's a veiled threat. That's obviously a veiled threat. And now they're going to take steps. This is why you need a secret identity. You know what I mean? Unless you've already hidden us away.
Of course I'd hide you away. That'd be step number one.
God, dude, that would suck. Well, unless,
Oh, not necessarily.
Unless you found, you put us on Epstein's Island and then, hollowed out a bunch of, or like filed down giant trees and made a barricade around the island. You know what I mean? So
there's lots of things I could do. We could just go to another habitable planet. I'm sure that I can arrange that.
Maybe. That's tough. How would you arrange that?
Well, I mean, I'm sure I could call in a buddy from some other spacefaring country, set down an intergalactic starship.
No, you don't know. You don't know that. You just now discovered you, Peter Shin, now have these powers. You don't know no intergalactic buddies.
Well, I figure some intergalactic buddies are going to come along.
Planet shit.
Maybe I just keep my cool until I figure out who my intergalactic buddies are. I think the first step is just to hang loose and see what I can do.
Here's the thing about being a superhero is like to have a secret identity, like you have to have a mask, like Spider-Man style. You know what I mean? It can't be like Superman and Clark Kent, because like people would notice. People just would know. People at Clark Kent's job didn't look at him and be like, "Don't you look? You look exactly like and same body shape and everything as Superman."
Here's the thing:
take the glasses off. Yeah, you look just like that motherfucker.
With unlimited power, there's no way that you could either become a god or a monster or both. There's no way you could help but become that.
Yeah. Well, unlimited power, maybe not, but with unlimited power and time, for sure. Yeah. Like if you had a regular human lifespan and then you discovered all these powers, like you could spend your life just being a force of good. You know what I mean? Making the world a better place only. Just being a superhero and just whatever. And then you die and whatever. But with like unlimited time, everyone dies. You know what I mean? 100 times over,
Yes.
I would be a vengeful god. I would too. I'd be so man. People would fear my name. They would for sure. It would not be what I would do. What I would do is I would wait until everyone I wouldn't do nothing but wait until everyone I know and love dies. Right. And then I would try as hard as I could to just live a normal life, but I'd be cutting loose. Like if something pissed me off, you know what I mean? Or like some, I'm trying to think like, some police brutality video comes out. I just fly right to that city right away and destroy that entire police precinct. You know what I mean? completely obliterate it, and then just hang around in that town just for any crazy shit happens. I will literally just be sitting there floating in the sky. The whole city will know that I'm watching. I see anything crazy, I'm just going to go there and kill everyone involved. You know what I mean?
Don't you think that that would be viewed as, having godlike power?
Yes. Yeah, it would. It would be like a zero tolerance. Now, other governments have tried this in the past, zero tolerance crime. You know what I mean? Like zero tolerance fuckery, and it never works because, like, then you could falsely accuse people of stuff or whatever, but it wouldn't be like that. There would be no like requisition system to ask me for anything. I would just, no one would know who I was. I would just be on the internet. And if I saw some shit or hear about some shit in a city that pissed me off, I'm flying to that city and I'm just going to hover above that city. Everyone in the city will know that I'm sitting there watching it. You know what I mean? And if I see any fuckery, everyone's dead. Everyone involved is dead.
You're like, yeah, you're some kind of really hardcore Santa, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
Happy Santa Day. You're dead.
And then eventually I'll hold a press conference and just be like, just to tell everyone in the world at once, like, hey, I've gone on from like watching the city. Now, if I hear about some shit that pisses me off in the city, I'm going to completely eradicate that city from the planet. And if it happens enough times consecutively, I'm going to just destroy this planet, move on to the next one. So everyone be on your best behavior,
Yeah. Well, that seems to me that you're not going to do that until after everyone knows. Everyone
long dead.
Okay.
Long dead. Yeah.
All right,
this would probably take course over hundreds and hundreds of years. And you know what I would do? I would give that press conference and then I would fly off and leave everyone in fear, like, oh God, he could be anywhere at any time. But I would actually just leave Earth. You know what I mean? I would just have them think that I'm there watching them, going to kill anybody who displeases me. But I'm actually long gone.
Long gone. Of course.
I'm on to the next civilization.
You'd be going from planet to planet in this scenario.
Yeah. And then I'd leave Earth for a few thousand years, just long enough for them to wonder, just long enough for enough generations to pass by for them to be like, was he ever even, it would go and it would pass into legend. And people would begin to wonder if I was ever even real in the first place. And just when that thought goes to rest, I come back and destroy the planet.
Destroy the planet?
Yeah, I come back and kill them all, dude. Bam! Planet destroyed. Right when they think that, I don't think that guy ever even existed. Thousands of years later, I fly right through the core of the planet and completely obliterate it.
That seems pretty vengeful, but you did say you were going to be a vengeful god.
That would be so funny, dude. I would do that. That would be my thing, actually. That would be what I would do.
Your signature Viltrumite move.
Yeah, that'd be my signature dish. I show up to a civilization, police it heavy for many, many years. Like, institute an iron-fisted reign of terror, of bloody terror. And then I tell them I'm never leaving, and then secretly I leave. And then thousands of years later, after they finally psychologically and economically recovered from what I've done to them, I just destroy the whole fucking planet, bro.
So you don't check to see if they've made great progress, if they're now a cultured civilization with a lot to offer the universe. You don't check any of that. You just go in and slaughter them.
No, I check, and that makes it funnier one way or the other. You know what I mean? I check. I come back in hooded robes and, spend some time amongst the people.
Right. Only to determine how much your legend is faded, of course.
Yeah, only to determine how funny it's going to be when they see me floating in the sky one more time, just to completely eradicate their civilization.
Oh my God.
I would become a living extinction level event. That's what I would be.
Wow, that's really wholesome, son. I hope that happens for you.
Maybe there would be some civilizations that are just really dope and they really get along, and they're not warlike like the humans and they work together, all the bad qualities of humans. And then I'm like, okay, these guys, they get to live. You know what I mean?
Oh, yes. You could, in fact, be a merciful god.
I've been so jaded by humans. They're the only experience I have. There could be other civilizations that just don't have those bad qualities. And then those civilizations I would protect. I would make sure nothing else happens to them. And,
Wow. You sound like a pretty fair god then.
Yeah. But the ones like human civilization. Yeah. I would try to get everyone under control and on the same page. And then eventually that would turn into just homicidal justice at any perceived slight in any place. And
Sure.
then the 1,000 years psychological mind games begin. You know,
I mean, you've got nothing but time in this scenario.
nothing
So,
but time, bro. Nothing but time.
so you're not scouring the galaxy looking for new habitable planets to seed with new life. No, you're going around destroying life as you find it if it
Yeah.
doesn't measure up to your standards of
That's
excellence.
exactly. That's exactly. Right. That's exactly right, dude. Become a god of destruction.
Well, that's
Uh,
great. Maybe if you get your degree, that'll happen for you.
yeah. Yeah. No,
Well,
I'm joking about all of that, of course. Of
well,
course.
I can understand why you would though, because right now what's going on in our country, man, it's bad.
Yeah, I'm
We need
frustrated.
a vengeful flying god to come and make changes, I
Yeah, it
guess. I
makes
don't
you
know.
wonder, like, damn, dude, this is what people do with freedom, you know? It's like
Well,
people want freedom so bad, and it's like, what do you do with it? What do you do with freedom? You know?
well, it's true. I mean, I'm reading about how Ukraine is still under endless assault by Russia. And, on the one hand, I feel outraged, but on the other hand, dude, I don't want to go do it. I don't want to go fight. I just don't want to do it. I know what it's like.
They'll fight for what? For who? Why? They don't care. But nobody, the people who are in control of the levers of power behind this whole scenario, they don't. All these people killing and dying are just numbers to them. You know what I mean? They
Well,
really are.
I do know that, but at the same time, you can't simply go around invading other countries willy-nilly.
True. People have done that before, and it's always been bad.
And it's bad now. I mean, we
Yeah.
got to put a stop to it at some point, don't we?
But how? How do you do that?
I don't know, man. Do you pick up a gun and
We
kill a
can't just
Russian?
you can't do that anymore. We can't do that because of the nukes, But think about this though. This is another interesting point. Like if you did that and it all worked out and everyone's like, "Okay, Mr. Superman," and you throw all the nukes into the sun and they're all gone, what do you think would happen then? Like people would go back to nasty warfare. You know what I mean? It would be back to the chemical shit, back to the trench war. If there's no more nukes anymore, people would go back to boots on the ground invasion. Don't you think?
Most likely, yes. From that standpoint, nuclear warfare is a supreme deterrent, but that's what makes Putin's adventurism in Ukraine so galling.
Well, the dude is got a bit of a complex, obviously. People who get to power the way he does and in the place that he does, it's hard. It would be hard for you not to be like, yeah, maybe I am just the one who knows best for the world. You know what I mean? It's not an accident that I got here. It's easy to see how someone could start thinking like, no, I am the shit. Maybe I am chosen by God to do this,
That's certainly Trump's point of view. That's really the reason I think that Trump and Putin got along so well. They understood each other because they're both gangsters. They both understand that in order to get ahead, you have to run a criminal organization. That's their point of view in any event. And events thus far have proven them to be accurate. There's no accountability. There's no justice. They continue to conduct activities which shock the conscience with impunity. Both of them do.
Well, I mean, Trump's, his time in the sun is over, I think. I don't think he's going to run again. And I don't know, like the president of the United States, to me, just, I don't know. It doesn't really seem like, it seems like they're kind of just the scapegoat for a lot of stuff. They have some power, they have some executive power, but there's a lot of policies that are made more by CEOs. Like that's the kind of stuff that their actions, both direct and indirect, are the things that affect your day-to-day life. You know what I mean?
Well, Congress used to do that. Congress used to pass laws that affected ordinary men and women.
Of course. Well, who are they working for?
Who are they working
They're
for?
They're not working for the American people. We all know that.
They're working for the people that fund their campaigns.
That's correct.
How could it be otherwise?
Yeah, how could it be otherwise? If you're not doing that, then your campaigns aren't getting funded. You're not getting elected.
This is the fundamental argument that a politician will make, which is I can't help anybody if I'm not in power. Now can I?
Yeah. What can I do if I'm not elected to power? And I can't get elected to power unless I take this money from these motherfuckers. And these motherfuckers won't give me this money unless I do them a couple of favors.
And those favors happen to completely conflict with all of the things
with your interest.
Yeah. Well, you didn't give me any money. God damn it.
Yeah. And now, if you want your interest to be represented, pull yourself up by your bootstraps, right? And get this fucking money. You need to be a big CEO. You need to be a corporation. What you got there, dude? Is that weed?
No, it's nicotine.
Nicotine?
Vapor. Yeah, I'm really struggling with the nicotine lately.
Tisk.
Well, what can I tell you, man?
Now I'm gonna guilt trip you.
You should. I mean, the nicotine is just so challenging to get off of because I've been addicted since before I was born. And so that's my excuse. And it's a good one. It's a good excuse. But I'm vaping. I'm not smoking cigarettes. So that's a step in the right direction.
I still have dreams about smoking cigarettes all the time.
Do you?
All the time. Yes.
Well, you're a bad addict just like me.
Dreams about it all the time.
That's why you have dreams about it, is because you're a bad addict.
It's crazy. You think that would ease up, but it's almost every single night.
No, I don't think it. Well, it will eventually ease up, but it'll probably take you 10 years.
Yeah, maybe at least as much or half the amount of time that I was smoking cigarettes,
that makes
which
sense.
was half of my life. So,
my goodness, can you imagine what might happen if you stop smoking weed?
No. What would happen?
I don't know. The world may never know. It's kind of like,
I don't think the world's ever going to know that one.
What's at the center of a Tootsie Roll? But how many licks does it take to get to the Tootsie Roll center of a Tootsie Pop?
I did that once,
And?
Well, I didn't count. I licked the Tootsie Pop until I got to the center.
Well, but if you didn't count, who gives a shit?
Well, it's pretty impressive. Most people can't do that. You crunch into it.
That's the whole point. It takes three licks in your crunch.
Yeah. No one has the discipline that I had as a child to really lick it all the way to the center.
I'll tell you what, I wish we all still had that discipline today, son. Who knows?
Yeah.
Might have more success. Well, no, I find it interesting that you don't feel like, you don't really feel like there's any. The Ukraine conflict doesn't do it for you from a justice boner standpoint.
Well, what do you mean? They're going to lose. The Ukraine's going to lose. They can't defeat Russia, right?
Well, they can if we give them enough weapons. Probably.
Can they though? They're so small. Like, just numerically, like, I don't know. It just seems like Russia's. I don't know, man.
Think about all
and I'm not talking about from any morals or whatever. I'm just from like the betting odds standpoint, just the odds of Ukraine versus Russia, which, if we did this in total war, I think the automatic outcome would be crushing defeat,
Well, that's why so many people predicted Russia to win quickly. But it turns out that they continue to just throw people into the fight. They do have more to throw into the fight.
I think they're doing the old tried and true, throw the rookies in, let them get all fucked up, and let the enemy think that they're a bunch of bumbling idiots, and then send the veterans in after they've been tenderized for a year or two, however long it takes to siege these motherfuckers, and then send the veterans in and just, what are they going to do? There's, yeah.
Well, if they're armed with the right weapons and Russia isn't armed with the correct weapons, what they do is they kill thousands and thousands of Russians. And there does come a point where Russia just can't sustain it. And that's the long-term US goal, is to bleed Russia white. And the problem is that Russia is already bled white. There's just not that many. They're basically without going to a full mobilization. Now, they could go to a full mobilization and get all kinds of conscripts, round them up and send them to the front. But they're just going to be fodder for some of these advanced weapon systems that we're sending.
All right. We'll see. I guess time will tell.
Time will tell. And you're right, though. The Russian strategy is to continue to throw manpower, personnel, and equipment at the problem until it goes away. The issue is that, the Ukrainians may or may not go away. They've got good leadership. I don't know what your civil.
I don't know exactly. I don't know what the GDP rates are here. How big is the Ukraine compared to Russia? Compared to population,
Russia, 144 million versus about 44 million. That's before 6 million Ukrainians left.
Right.
And that doesn't count the hundreds of thousands of Ukrainians that have been captured and then sent to concentration camps behind Russian lines.
Sure.
So that you're talking about a Goliath versus a David, certainly. And you're talking about the breadbasket of Europe. 1 in 8 calories in the world is produced in Ukraine, or was, and it's not now. Not, I mean, there's not going to be much wheat coming out of Ukraine.
That's an interesting factoid.
Yeah. So
1 out of 8 calories is produced in the Ukraine.
That's right. And
there was somebody, I think I had a mechanic buddy, who was talking about, like, there's some part that's been fucking up on cars and people have been trying to get it replaced and they can't get it because the factory that makes them is in the Ukraine.
Sure, could be.
Just can't get it.
Yeah. And they're not going to for a while. So, but Russia's got the same problem. Russia's got a big problem too. These sanctions.
They've been having some sanctions put on them, right?
Pretty serious, but yet we're not serious enough to close off Russian oil markets.
Well,
I mean, so
let's not do anything rash here.
I mean,
that's what we're saying.
Can you imagine? We've got gas at $4.59 a gallon right now. What happens if we really enforce an embargo on Russian oil? Well, then the global price goes up. We're looking at gas prices of maybe $6 a gallon on average, maybe, which, that's a lot of money, even from a historical inflation standpoint.
It's never been that high.
We're balancing a lot of concerns here. But at the end of the day, I think the feeling is that if we can keep Ukraine alive long enough to bleed Russia dry, that eventually there's going to be some kind of internal dissent that causes Putin to fall. I think that's the long-term game plan, is just keep Ukraine in play until Russia collapses. That's the U.S. plan.
Well,
as far as I can determine,
we'll see how well that works.
Well, we're giving,
if they can, like, their buildings can only withstand so much shells,
That's the Russian position, is we'll just incrementally turn Ukraine into hell 1 inch at a time.
Yeah.
Walking forward with artillery bombardments, and we'll destroy anything that comes in our path.
Yeah.
So, Ukraine
turn this whole fucking place into a wasteland, turn it back into some, whatever.
Exactly.
Do whatever after it.
That's right. And so
that's what I would do, as, like, if I was like a strategist, like, just, here are your resources. I'm in Russia. Here are your resources. Here are their resources projected. I'm sure maybe they don't know exactly, but whatever. They probably got a good idea. It's just like, yeah, we can afford. Here's what we'll do. This is the easy way. It's the surefire way to win. We'll just, until they surrender unconditionally, just, shell every last square inch of that place until there's none of them left. Until either they surrender unconditionally or they're completely annihilated, one way or the other.
And so what they ran into was a determined Ukrainian resistance and a united West. The West quickly united, because here's the thing. If Russia is willing to conquer Ukraine, then what's to stop it from taking Lithuania and Estonia and Latvia?
Yeah.
And partitioning Poland, and what's to stop them from reconstituting the entire Soviet empire? And the answer is nothing.
Could you imagine, bro? Well, what to stop them is nuclear war. I mean, eventually somebody closer to them than us with nukes is going to be like, bro, stop now. Or we're going to mobilize forces against your forces. And then whatever happens, if your forces get close to one of our silos, we're not going to let you have these nukes. We'll just go ahead and launch them then,
But there's no one in the former Soviet Union that has nukes.
Russia doesn't have nukes.
No one in the former Soviet.
Oh yeah, in the former yeah. But I'm just saying, like, they're neighbors eventually with someone who does. You know what I mean?
Well, right? They're neighbors with China, but they've got an alliance with China. No, they're not going to go.
They do.
I mean, if they go 1 inch into NATO, that's a whole different ballgame. And
that's what I'm saying. Or, like, not even into NATO, but, like, neighbors with NATO. You know what I mean?
Well, they're not going to neighbor NATO now. Finland has joined NATO. Sweden's going to join NATO. They're going to have an enormous border with NATO now, which they never had before. These are strategic consequences of the plan to crush Ukraine.
Yeah.
And ultimately, Ukraine, if you can keep that country alive in some form or fashion, Russia will spend all of its time and energy and resources on trying to finish that conquest. And eventually, one of two things is going to happen. They will succeed, or Putin will be deposed. We're betting that Ukraine will succeed long enough for Putin to be deposed. because those are the only two options. And Zelensky,
Or he die. He might die. Motherfucker might just die.
sure, but Zelensky's not of a mind to capitulate.
No, he's not. You got to give. I mean, I don't know. It's clearly, I don't, or maybe it is. I don't know. I don't think it's just like his decision. Like Putin sent a message right to Zelensky. It was like, yeah, submit or die. And Zelensky's like, this whole country will die before we submit. And I'm telling you that. And that's how it is. So when you say something like, damn, Ukraine, Zelensky's got nuts for standing up to Putin, it's like, was that all his? I'm sure there's a cabinet and, like I don't know, or maybe not. I don't fucking know. But it is brave of a country like Ukraine to be like, no, we will fight to the death against the Russians. Because, I mean, clearly, all their military strategists must have been like, yeah, it doesn't look good, though. We're going to need some help.
They immediately called for arms, and they were immediately supplied. Now, the
arms,
reality,
sure, but like they also need men, and they need buildings. You need buildings to reside in. You know what I'm saying? Like,
well, that is true. The Russians are trying to just blow up everything.
They'll just blow everything up. They just will, over time, however long. It might take a long time, but they can. I'm sure they can do it. Maybe not.
Well, they're like precision guided bombs and missiles. Some of those things that they're expending in this war are difficult to replace. Anytime an aircraft gets shot down, that's difficult to replace.
Yeah.
Anytime,
that is many dollars.
And not just dollars. We're talking about material and parts that the Russians have a hard time producing on their own.
Yeah, I remember in that Supernova in the East podcast Dan Carlin did, he would talk about how long it took Japan to make a aircraft carrier. Like it takes them so fucking long, and America just had so much raw material and people. We could just do it in a quarter of the time, if that. Make two of them in the quarter of the time.
Yeah, we churned them out, man. By the end of the war, we produced we were producing multiple aircraft carriers every week of various sizes. So no,
it's pretty crazy how much more just shit we had than everybody else. Like once we got involved, it was like it's over now.
It was.
It's so over. It's so over.
Imagine being able to supply two complex logistical trains to the Pacific and to the Atlantic at the same time.
Yeah.
And of course, from an air power perspective, by the way, that wasn't done easily.
And it didn't always go well.
No,
but
I mean, the planes that were robbed for the North African invasion, for example, made the 8th Air Force an ineffective force during all of 1943. It wasn't until after Operation Torch and they started getting some new aircraft and aircraft that could escort the bombers into Germany that they started achieving tactical success. And because the fighters then were turned loose to attack targets at will on the way back. Man. So we established air superiority once we were able to establish materiel superiority.
Yeah.
That took time.
Yeah, it did, because if I recall, the Japanese at first had just better designs for their planes.
They had better designs. They had more of them. We were outmatched until the Battle of Midway in the Pacific.
Yeah, which is crazy.
That came down to a few key factors, but the fact that we knew the Japanese code and the fact
all right, the German and the Japanese code breaking was instrumental, of course.
Super.
And also keeping that a secret. You can't just
you
can't be there, you can't appear omniscient because they're going to know you broke the code. So you got to let some things happen, which is a crazy decision to have to make. You know what I mean? You know an ambush is coming, you have to let an ambush just happen. You know what I mean? Because you can't reveal your hand. So those are crazy, tough decisions. But this is an interesting parallel between Japan versus, like, they had so many such a small island to do so much conquering and crazy military success. And Ukraine is these are not, I'm just talking about size-wise against their enemies. The Ukraine versus Russia. And also the Japanese did fuck the Russians up, I believe.
Well, let's think about this for a second. All right. So in 2003, we invaded Iraq. Yeah. And we achieved overwhelming military success instantly. And then we turned loose the army and said, hey, you don't have a job anymore. Fuck off.
Yeah.
These are all men who knew how to operate weapons. They just need to get a hold of them. Who do you think supplied them? That's right. And sometimes they were even sent home with their weapons.
Sure.
How convenient.
Yeah.
Because they had brought them to begin with. So,
Yeah.
we turned loose 300,000 armed men and said, fuck you. Boy, that was smart, huh?
You don't have a job. You don't have nothing.
So, okay. So we also invaded Afghanistan starting in 2001 and, wrapping up in 2021 to great success, as we've discussed on another podcast. But, we also achieved rapid military success there. But why couldn't we win? Well, it's the same way, theoretically, Russia won't be able to win in Ukraine, which is because there were countries close by that were willing to provide support and succor to our enemies. Just as it's the case, we can maintain.
But there is a small difference here, though. Like Russia's right next to Ukraine. America's that was across an entire ocean. Now, of course, we could do it, but
NATO is right next to Ukraine. And if you don't think we can get men and material into Poland in about 20 seconds, you're mistaken. And so Russia also is facing a prolonged and protracted resistance that will be funded and armed to the teeth by NATO for as long as it takes to maintain Ukraine as an independent country.
All the weapons in the world are all well and good if you have men to hold them in their hands. You know what I mean? Men with beating hearts to hold them in their hands. But, I just don't know. I don't know. We'll see. Time will tell.
Time will tell.
You can supply them with weapons, but if they're all dead, if no one's using the weapons, then
sure, they face serious casualties as well. But you know what they have that the Russians don't have? A non-commissioned officer corps, which is to say unit level leaders who are empowered to make tactical decisions. And so, on different battlefields, especially in urban combat, that's very, very important. Now, when you're talking about these large scale artillery duels, we're going to have better equipment for the Ukrainians than the Russians have. And I'm talking about some high tech shit with precision guided munitions. We're going to be arming these Ukrainians to win. And you're right. I mean, if they kill everyone, that's one thing, but I don't think they're going to be able to. It's notoriously difficult to kill them all.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nazis couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Ukrainians were, and by the way, the Ukrainians welcomed the Nazis as liberators, but they turned into fierce partisans because the Nazis were, of course, such pricks.
Yeah.
So
real uptight about a lot of stuff.
Yeah. So Ukraine has a history of resistance to conquest, which the Russians didn't. I mean, the Russians fucked up.
Yeah.
They think they're going to be able to win this thing, but they can't. It would be like, can you imagine us trying?
It does
to
seem kind of like a lose-lose. It does seem like a lose-lose. You know what I mean? Yeah, I can't, like, it would be like us trying to conquer Mexico. Like, we could go in there and completely destroy the Mexican army. Sure.
Absolutely. You bet. You think
but
the
narcos,
yeah.
But they're not even the ones you got to worry about at all, dude.
Not.
Not at all. The
No,
Mexican army worries about those cartels, and those motherfuckers, you're not gonna turn the people against the cartels, you know.
And the cartels are better armed than the Mexican military.
It would be like, yeah, they are much better armed, and honestly, they're more combat veterans than the fucking Mexican army is.
Of course, they're better equipped.
They're
better
forged
motivated,
in blood and fire for real, you know.
Better fed, better paid, all that stuff. So
sure are. Higher morale.
So can
more
you
skin in the game?
Now then, imagine. So we roll into Mexico, and now imagine that Guatemala.
Well, what would be the point? Like, because if we were,
this is just strictly theoretical, right?
Okay, all right.
Let's just say in this theoretical scenario that Guatemala sides with Cuba and Russia, and so there's this enormous Russian base in Guatemala that's resupplying all the Mexican narcos to continue their fight against us.
Yeah.
You think we could ever pacify Mexico?
No.
In a million fucking years?
No, we could bomb it to shit. That would be about the only thing you could,
Exactly
or leave.
Right. Yeah. Could we kill every single Mexican? Certainly not.
Nah, just
Russia can't do it either.
Yeah, not without doing something that would fuck up, you
Yeah.
can't do it without nukes or like some kind of poison, some disease, something that would just have catastrophic effects for the entire world, yourself included.
Precisely. You can't do it.
Yeah.
So from that standpoint, I say again, Russia is fucked. Because
it doesn't seem good.
They've bitten off more than they can chew.
What is the best case scenario for Russia? What's the best case scenario?
The best
case. Putin saw it like what is he trying to achieve completely here?
What he initially was trying to achieve was Ukrainian annexation through a decapitation of the government and a quick seizure of its capital and and key territories. That's what he was initially seeking. Somebody told him that it could be accomplished easily. That somebody's probably under 6 feet of concrete right now.
Yeah, you think so? You think so? You didn't think it was his idea? Well, he's always got advisors and stuff, I'm sure.
You should watch the video of him publicly discussing the decision to invade Ukraine. I've seen it, portions of it, and it's quite chilling. It's clear that he is calling every shot and that everyone who is not dancing to his tune is scared to death. In fact, those of his cabinet ministers who were dancing to his tune were all of them obviously scared to death. Certainly, you could never imagine anything that would detract from what he said issuing forth from any of those lips.
Damn, and you would think, like, if you were in the Russian military, you would think that would be the safest place for you. It'd be like, I'll just be like on his council. You know what I mean? I'll be high up in power, and then it's like, oh no, this is the most dangerous place for you to be, and it's like you can't get out. You're in too deep. You know what I mean? You're in way too deep.
That's Putin's problem in a nutshell. He's in too deep.
Well, yeah, with this now,
criminal organization. He can't get out. He's a lifer.
Oh yeah. He's stuck in this shit. Yeah.
So
grew up in this shit.
Exactly. And so he made one too many gangster moves. For the first time in a long time, he miscalculated. Yeah. And so now he can't get what he wanted. That's not on the table.
Well, you're making a compelling argument here. But you're making a compelling argument.
It's unclear, though. It's unclear, even though he can't get what he wanted, it's unclear that he knows that. And so,
well, this is what I'm saying. When you're someone in his position, how you get to power, like things start to go to your head, like you start to get delusional about things. You know what I mean?
Information is heavily filtered.
Sure. And all these yes men dancing to the tune, they wouldn't dare. Someone's not going to bust it down for Putin and be like, listen, dude, you need someone to tell it to you straight. But this is not going to work. This is a dumbass idea. This is stupid. We can't do this. No one's going to say that to him, you know?
That's the problem.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
So he's
in too deep.
He's locked in too deep into a very bad policy decision that he can't escape from. And so his answer to that is going to be to continue to throw more Russian resources into it. That what else can he do? He's got to double down. He's got to continue to double down until he dies.
That's true, because what's the other option? You say you admit defeat. How would you get out of there any other way but to say, yeah, I mean.
Now, there's a theoretical concept that Henry Kissinger broached that Zelensky, by the way, immediately rejected, which is that, Russia declared Luhansk and Donetsk, these two rump republics, to be recognized as independent countries that would then be subsumed into part of Russia. And you could see a scenario in which Ukraine trades those disputed regions for some species of peace.
Right.
But Zelensky has rejected that out of hand and has said that he wants Russia off of every inch of Ukrainian territory. He's in a position.
Zelensky's being a voice for the people, dude. If you were in Ukraine, this motherfucker, I'd be like, yeah, okay, let's fight and die for this motherfucker. I don't care.
I feel like that outside of Ukraine.
The Russians are coming anyway. They're going to come and kill us all anyway. So this dude's trying to, like, if they're going to come here and destroy us anyway, then I'm just going to fight to the death with them, with this guy leading me.
I guess so. So I think
it's a different dynamic than what you would be in the Russian military, because it's like, if I don't go and crush these people for the great mother Russia, I'm in fucking trouble. I'm in big trouble. You know what I mean?
But no one's even telling me what's going on. If I'm a Russian foot soldier, I'm just being sent to the front. I'm being told that I'm going to go liberate my fellow Russian brothers from the boot of the Nazis. That's what I'm being told. Then I show up and it's these little Ukrainian grandmas shaking their rakes at me. And I can either become a war criminal or I can be a traitor.
Yeah.
And so, can you imagine the confusion? And I don't have any strong enlisted leaders telling me what to do. There's just some Russian officer who may or may not believe in what he's doing, who's, it's a disaster on the Russian side. They don't have any leadership. And so they're suffering in that regard. But at the end of the day, there's only two ways out. And the two ways out are that Putin dies or is replaced. There's some negotiated deal struck, or Ukraine loses. Those are the only three options. And right now, if you're a betting person, you're saying, well, NATO can hold off Russia until probably Putin dies, most likely.
Yeah, how old is he?
He's only in his early 70s, maybe late 60s.
Really?
He's not that old.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yet
He doesn't look old. He looks hardy and hale, I have to say. He doesn't look like he's going to die of old age anytime soon.
he's faced a series of health problems over the last several
Although
years.
those, what do I know? I'm not watching him all the time. I don't see him at every fucking thing. Every picture I've ever seen of Putin has been probably very carefully crafted by his PR team, as it would be.
Normally that's true, but some of that has been slipping of late. For example, he was seen at a meeting clutching onto a table. He's been known to keep advisors at a distance of 20 feet. His anti-COVID measures, some say, have contributed to his sense of isolation and is part of the reason why he's acting in an irrational manner here in the Ukraine. So there's a lot going on with Putin that suggests that
there's always so much more going on with world leaders than is immediately apparent, isn't there? Always.
Of course,
always.
because their images are always managed. And so you don't always know what's going on. In fact,
sometimes
you rarely
it's fucking crazy,
Yeah.
Like them having polio and them not being able to walk, them being on a crazy cocktail of drugs and pig fetuses and whatever the fuck. Like, I'm telling you, that Blitzed book I listened to.
Yeah.
The shit that Hitler was getting shot up with every day was fucking crazy. His doctor was such a quack. Such a quack, dude.
Dr. Morell, the quack.
Yes, Dr. Morell. And the way he died was fucking crazy. And his doctor was on that shit too, on everything, of course, too. Taking your daily Pervitin and your daily Eucadol, and
at least he couldn't say that he wasn't on his own shit.
Yeah.
Hey, it works for me.
Yeah. Yeah. He I think he got picked up by American intelligence and they got nothing out of him,
Right.
He was just so fucking, he was like, I just wish I wasn't alive anymore. And then they turned him out.
Yeah.
They turned him out on the street somewhere in Berlin where some old lady or some lady working at like some kind of psych ward found him and just turned him in, and then he died alone in there.
A fitting end.
Yeah. Yeah. That was a pretty fitting end. That guy fucking crazy. They were into all this weird occult, such pseudoscience occulty shit. I guess everywhere was, though. America was like that too.
Well, one could argue we still are.
Yeah.
So,
well, yeah, that's been seeing a resurgence of late.
It has been. Well, who can blame
anybody? Maybe it never went away, I guess. Like,
never went away. And, when the world is confusing, people tend to turn to superstition.
It really has always been the same. Like, it's just different materials,
Yeah, because human beings are trapped in illusion. We're lost in illusion.
All the weird pseudoscience, like in the, the occult stuff, there's like occult equivalents today that people really place a lot of stock and value into, like this whole astrology shit and what sign you're born under. And, that's like common, whatever. But hundreds of years from now, people will be like, they believed in that shit? That's so weird,
It's for entertainment purposes only, son.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not for a lot of people. I read my horoscope most every day.
Not for a lot of people. And not for a lot of people, it ain't entertainment. That's like,
Well, your grandmother was an astrologer. You know this, right?
Sure.
You know it, but you didn't live it like I did.
No, didn't. I didn't live it.
I lived with an astrologer for most of my youth.
Yeah.
And, she was crazy.
And she was fucking crazy.
But yet, it obviously influenced my life, because even though I don't believe in any of it, I mean, at the end of the day, it is entertaining for me, because it's like a callback to my childhood to read my horoscope.
Sure. Yeah. Well, that's a different thing for you. That's a cultural, nurture thing.
But the fact is, people are always searching, son, for spiritual answers. They always are. Because death is inevitable. And yet this feeling of consciousness makes us feel like we'll live forever, because it's all we've ever known.
Well, it makes it feel like it would be such a waste for us to not go on after this, for us to experience and have, such conscious revelations. And then for it to be like, but when your meat suit shuts down, though, that's it forever. People cannot handle that. It just doesn't seem right. It seems antithetical to what you are. But at the same time, that just seems so logical to me. That seems like exactly what it is.
Well, it is what it is. Because no matter or energy, we've proven through science that no matter or energy can ever be destroyed. It can only be converted into other things. So but that's functionally the same thing as being obliterated. It was your conscious being obliterated. You know what I mean?
You still, who you are is no more. It's gone, which to me makes it a lot more special. That makes it a lot more special to me. You know what I mean?
It is true. You are whatever you consider yourself to be, all of the causes and conditions that make up yourself right now, that does all end at death. But
Yeah.
it gets reconstituted into something else. You are you, but you're not the same you. You have whatever you've brought into your next life from your last one, karmically speaking, or maybe not. The truth is that we all believe something, generally speaking, that allows us to get through the day and the night and wake up the next day, one way or another, even atheists.
No, I even if it was absolute complete annihilation, which I'm pretty sure is what it is, you know, I don't even think there's nothing like, you know, the nutrient, I'm sure it goes into some grass or whatever, whatever it is, but I don't think any form of consciousness, like it's just purely electrical signals in your brain. And there's so many things happen and our brains are so complicated. We interpret it as this higher thing, higher than it is. This whole spirituality thing, I think is a coping mechanism of the brain to try to like deal with the fact that this is so impermanent. It's such an insane thing that our brains have evolved to do. Such a on a higher level than obviously any other living creature on earth ever has done, you know, that we can do this and share ideas. And it just seems so out of place that like when you die, all of that is just the same as when an ant gets stepped on, or just the same as when a fucking dog gets hit by a car. It's lights out for that fucking dog. It's lights out for that ant. It's lights out for you. It's all the same. You know what I mean? And that scares a lot of people. But to me, it just like, I don't know, that makes it so if everything is a continuous roll of the dice down to your very existence, down to this very thought, just a random roll of the dice that keeps snowballing into what it is now, that just makes it so much more special to me than if it's like, no, you do go on after this. It's not over after this. Well, if it's not over after this, then really, like, well, you know, what the fuck? Nothing. That's depressing to me. For it to actually end when it's done and for you to get what you have, like, only now. It only exists now. And it's going to be, everything is going to be completely gone about who you are and everyone else too. That just makes it a lot more. That makes everything so much cooler to me. Everything is like, if it's all by chance, you know what I'm saying? It's like you keep drawing an ace of spades out of the deck of cards against all odds. Any cool thing that ever happens, you know?
Well, you know what? That's a great way of looking at life because it is precious. It is. You know, not everyone gets one. I guess.
Yeah. And it's also comforting that everyone dies, you know? Every thought you've ever had about like, oh, fuck, man, I am going to die. Fuck, like, and then that's all you're ever going to be, really. You're going to be dead much longer than you were ever alive, you know?
Right. Well, so what's wrong with that?
There ain't nothing wrong with that. It's comforting to me that every human being who has ever drawn breath in any civilization throughout time and whoever will draw breath will have that same thought. Like you are connected to everyone in that way, you know?
It's true. It all ends.